नमस्कार। आज हम ट्रांसलेशंस एंड एडिशंस ऑफ अलेक्जेंडर पोप के बारे में पढ़ेंगे। आई एम रजनी मीना, असिस्टेंट प्रोफेसर, गवर्नमेंट कॉलेज रावतभाटा। Translations of Iliad. Pope had been fascinated by Homer since childhood. In 1713, he announced his plans to publish a translation of Iliad. The work would be available by subscription, with one volume appearing every year over the course of 6 years. Pope secured a revolutionary deal with the publisher Bernard Lintot, who earned him 200 guineas a volume, a vast sum at the time. His translation of the Iliad appeared between 1715 and 1720. It was acclaimed by Samuel Johnson as a performance which no age or nation could hope to equal. The classical scholar Richard Bentley wrote, "It is a pretty poem, Mr. Pope, but you must not call it Homer." Translation of Odyssey. Encouraged by the success of Iliad, Bernard Lintot published Pope's 5-volume translation of Homer's Odyssey in 1725 and 1726. For this work, Pope collaborated with William Broome and Elijah Fenton. Broome translated 8 books: 2, 6, 8, 11, 12, 16, 18 and 23. And Fenton translated 4 books: 1, 4, 19, 20. And Pope the remaining 12. Broome provided the annotations. Pope tried to conceal the extent of the collaboration but the secret leaked out. It did some damage to Pope's reputation for a time, but not to his profits. Leslie Stephen considered Pope's portion of the Odyssey inferior to his version of the Iliad, given that Pope had put more effort into the earlier work, to which in any case his style was better suited. Edition of Shakespeare works. In this period, Pope was employed by publisher Jacob Tonson to produce an opulent new edition of Shakespeare. When it appeared in 1725, this edition silently regularized Shakespeare's meter and rewrote his verse in a number of places. Pope also removed about 1560 lines of Shakespearean material, arguing that some appealed to him more than others. In 1726, lawyer, poet and pantomime deviser Lewis Theobald published a scathing pamphlet called Shakespeare Restored, which catalogued the errors in Pope's work and suggested a number of revisions to the text. This enraged Pope, and thus Theobald was the main target of Pope's poem, the Dunciad. The second edition of Pope's Shakespeare appeared in 1728. Aside from making some minor revisions to the preface, it seems that Pope had little to do with it. Most later 18th century editors of Shakespeare dismissed Pope's creatively motivated approach to textual criticism. Pope's preface continued to be highly rated. It was suggested that Shakespeare's texts were thoroughly contaminated by actors' interpolations, and they would influence editors for most of the 18th century. Spirit, skill and satire. Pope's poetic career testifies in his indomitable spirit in the face of disadvantages of health and of circumstance. The poet and his family were Catholics and thus fell subject to the Test Act. Prohibitive measures which severely hampered the prosperity of their core religionists after the abdication of James II. One of these warned them from living within 10 miles of London and another from attending public school or university. For this reason, except for a few spurious Catholic schools, Pope was largely self educated. He was taught to read by his aunt and became a lover of books. He learned French, Italian, Latin, Greek by himself and discovered Homer at the age of 6. As a child, Pope survived being once trampled by a cow. When he was 12, began struggling with the tuberculosis of the spine, along with fits of crippling headache and which troubled him throughout his life. In the year 1719, Pope showcased his precocious metrical skill with the publication of Pastorals, his first major poems. They earned him instant fame. By the time he was 23, he had written an essay on criticism, released in 1711, a kind of poetic manifesto in the vein of Horace Ars Poetica. The essay was met with enthusiastic attention and won Pope a wider circle of prominent friends, not most notably Joseph Addison and Richard Steele, who had recently started collaborating on the influential The Spectator. The critic John Dennis, having located an ironic and veiled portrait of himself, was outraged by what he considered the impudence of the younger author. Dennis hated Pope for the rest of his life and, save for a temporary reconciliation, dedicated his efforts to insulting him in print, to which Pope retaliated in kind, making Dennis the butt of much satire. A folio comprising a collection of his poems appeared in 1717, together with two new ones written about the passion of love. These were verses to the memory of an unfortunate lady and the famous proto-romantic poem Elogia to Abelard. Though Pope never married, about this time he became strongly attached to Lady M. Montagu, whom he indirectly referenced in the popular poem Elogia, and to Abelard and to Martha Blount, with whom his friendship continued throughout his life. In his career as a satirist, Pope made his share of enemies as the critics, politicians, and certain most other prominent figures felt the sting of his sharp-witted satires. Some were so virulent that Pope even carried pistols at one point while walking his dog. After 1738, Pope composed relatively little. He toyed with the idea of writing a patriotic epic called Brutus. He mainly revised and expanded his masterpiece, the Dunciad. Book 4 appeared in 1742 and a complete revision of the whole poem in the following year. In this version, he replaced Lewis Theobald with the poet laureate Collisiver as king of dunces. His real target in the poem is the Whig politician Robert Walpole. By now, Pope's health was falling, and when told by his physician on the morning of his death that he was better, Pope replied, "Here I am, dying of 100 good symptoms." So, this is the translations and editions of Alexander Pope. Thank you so much for watching this video.